It's time for
another episode of Miss B Teaches. I'm Miss B, and today we are learning a brand new strategy. Today's strategy is all about stopping and jotting when we get new information about our characters. Let's get started.
Hello, scholars, and welcome back to another episode of Miss B Reads. I'm Miss B, and today we are learning a brand new strategy that is going to help us learn more about the characters in our books. Today's strategy is all about stopping and jotting on a piece of paper, on a sticky note, in a notebook about new information on our characters. So if our characters do something different, if they say something new, if they develop a new relationship, if they respond to a problem differently that changes our opinion about them, it is really important that we jot that down. So we're going to start a new book, we're going to start a new story, and we're going to use this strategy. Let's get started. So today we are looking at Frog and Toad Are Friends, written by Arnold Lobel. We will be reading the story, The Letter. And today as we're reading, we're going to be focusing on the character of Frog. If you've never read these stories before, some of the characteristics that we could say that we already know about Frog is that he is a good friend because of the way that he treats Toad, because of his relationship with Toad. We could say that he is responsible. He takes care of the things that he has to do. He's very focused. He's dedicated. We could say that he is pretty intelligent, but also kind of a trickster. In one of the stories we read, Frog wanted Toad to get up and go outside with him, but Toad didn't want to because he said, I want to do it later, remind me when it's spring. So Frog found a way to trick Toad into believing that it was spring a lot sooner. So today we're going to read the letter and see if there's any new information or more information that we want to collect on the character of Frog. Let's get to page 53. There we go. The letter. Toad was sitting on his front porch. Frog came along and said, What is the matter, Toad? You are looking sad. Yes, said Toad. This is my sad time of day. It is the time when I wait for the mail to come. It always makes me very unhappy. Why is that? Asked Frog. Because I never get any mail, said Toad. Not ever? Asked Frog. No, never, said Toad. No one has ever sent me a letter. Every day my mailbox is empty. That is why waiting for the mail is a sad time for me. Frog and Toad sat on the porch, feeling sad together. So right now, if we're looking at the emotions, both Frog and Toad are sad because they both encountered a problem. The problem, what do you think it is? Jot it down, tell a friend. If you mentioned that the problem is that Toad never gets mail, you're correct. Toad is really sad because no one ever sends him a letter, and he goes out and he waits every day, but he gets the same result. Then Frog said, I have to go home now, Toad. There is something that I must do. Frog hurried home. He found a pencil and a piece of paper. He wrote on the paper. He put the paper in an envelope. On the envelope he wrote, A letter for Toad. Frog ran out of his house. He saw a snail that he knew. Snail, said Frog, please take this letter to Toad's house and put it in his mailbox. Sure, said Snail, right away. So already I can see that one thing I would want to add about Frog is that Frog fixes problems. When he sees a problem, he tries to fix it. So I might stop and jot. Frog fixes problems. And my evidence or something to support it, when Toad was sad, he didn't receive letters. When Toad was sad because he didn't receive letters, Frog wrote and sent him a letter. And I'm going to keep that right there, because one thing that tells me about Frog, put a little box so I can add the trait, is that Frog is kind. Because the reason why he fixed the problem was because his friend was sad. Let's keep going and see if this actually fixes the problem. Then Frog ran back to Toad's house. Toad was in bed taking a nap. "Toad," said Frog, "I think you should get up and wait for the mail some more." "No," said Toad, "I am tired of waiting for the mail." Frog looked out of the window at Toad's mailbox. The snail was not there yet. "Toad," said Frog, "you never know when someone may send you a letter." "No, no," said Toad, "I do not think anyone will ever send me a letter." Frog looked out of the window. The snail was not there yet. "But Toad," said Frog, "someone may send you a letter today." "Don't be silly," said Toad. "No one has ever sent me a letter before, and no one will send me a letter today." Frog looked out of the window. The snail was not there. "Frog, why do you keep looking out of the window?" asked Toad. "Because now I am waiting for the mail," said Frog. "But there will not be any," said Toad. "Oh, yes, there will," said Frog, "because I have sent you a letter." "You have?" said Toad. "What did you write in the letter?" Frog said, "I wrote, 'Dear Toad, I am glad that you are my best friend. Your best friend, Frog.'" "Oh," said Toad, "that makes a very good letter." Then Frog and Toad went out onto the front porch to wait for the mail. They sat there feeling happy together. Frog and Toad waited a long time. 4 days later, the snail got to Toad's house and gave him the letter from Frog. Toad was very pleased to have it. So, let's take a second and look back to see a little bit more about Frog. So, Frog, when we looked, had fixed the problem. He sent the letter to Toad. And now he's got a new problem. Toad does not want to get out of bed. So the letter that he sent, it might not be possible for Toad to see it because Toad did not get out of bed. So Frog is looking at the window. He's trying to convince Toad. He might even be a little impatient. But then Toad is like, "Why are you waiting at the window, Frog? Why are you doing that?" And Frog finally tells Toad. So we could even say something new that we learned about Frog. Even though he's a great friend and he did this, he really wants Toad to be happy right away. So we could even say he is a little impatient because he doesn't really like to wait. Frog doesn't like to wait. So by saying that, we could say he's a little impatient because he cares so much. So another trait we could add to Frog is that he is impatient. And we're going to say because he cares so much. The work that I'm doing right now about Frog, these are new things that I've learned about Frog because he didn't show these traits in other stories. So it's really, really great that when we are reading, let me go back to our strategy, that we take time to stop and jot about the new information, especially if we're looking at if the characters do something different, say something different, develop new relationships, or respond to problems differently. Until next time, bye!